Hello children. Today we are going to read about the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris from Book 1, First Flight. Before starting, I must tell you something about the poet George Leslie Norris. George Leslie Norris was a prize-winning Welsh poet and a short story writer. He taught at academic institutions in Britain and the United States. Norris is considered one of the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary publications have won many prizes. So now let's discuss about something, the poetry A Tiger in the Zoo. See, children, actually in this poem, the poet tries to depict the mental condition of a tiger who is caged. He compares the life of a tiger in the zoo with its life in its natural habitat. The poet conveys an important message that the wild animals should be left in their natural habitat and surroundings. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. When we talk about the theme and the central idea of the poem, the central idea of this poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, is that man has done wrong with the tiger by snatching away its freedom as well as its abilities. The poet tells the readers how tiger would have been enjoying if it were free. As it has been uncaged, it walks just a few steps because cage is quite small. It has rage in its eyes but remains quiet because it is helpless. So, in this poem, the poet heightens the contrast between freedom and captivity, and he very impressively shows all of us how love for freedom is the natural instinct of every living being. So let's start with stanza 1. The poet says, he stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. It means the poet sees a tiger locked in a concrete cell in the zoo in this particular stanza. And he says that it is a very small cage. The tiger can hardly take a few steps along the length of the cage. He looks majestic as he slowly moves up and down in his cage. The sharp and clear stripes on his body are of strong bright color. His pads are velvet soft in spite of all his strength. He now lies imprisoned behind the bars. The caged tiger is angry. He is full of rage, but is quiet because he knows that he is helpless here. When we talk about the second stanza, we see that the poet says, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. It means, looking at the imprisoned tiger, the poet is filled with pity. He says that the poor tiger should have been in his natural habitat, that is, in jungle, hunting and resting. Then it's at this hour of the night he would have been lying in the shadows of trees and sliding quietly through the long grass. He would then, near the water hole, wait for some fat and healthy deer to pass that way. Thus, he would be lying there in expectation of a heavy feast. Stanza 3. He should be smelling around houses at the jungle's edge. baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. So the poet says that in these lines, the poet imagines what the tiger would be doing in case he failed to find any prey in his natural habitat, that is jungle. The poet says that the tiger would be angrily moving around the houses in a nearby village. He would be growling at the edge of the jungle near some village. He would be showing his white fangs and terrible claws while moving here and there. He would thus become a cause of terror for all the villagers. The poet further says that if we continue to destroy the forest and the natural habitat of the tigers, they will be forced to turn to our towns and villages to find their food. Let's move to the fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. So in this stanza, we see children that the tiger who is encaged in a zoo. The poet sees the tiger is locked in a concrete cell in the zoo. In spite of all his strength, he now lies imprisoned behind the bars. Very slowly and silently, the tiger moves up and down along the length of the cage. He moves in an angry and threatening manner. He takes no note of the visitors who had come to the zoo to have a look at him. He completely ignores them as none of them thinks of releasing him from prison. Moreover, due to their presence, he hardly gets any rest during the day. Let's come to the last stanza of the poem. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So the poet says that due to the visitors, the tiger gets no rest during the day. Even at night, he remains disturbed due to the noise that comes from the patrolling cars. The tiger has thus lost all hope and feels very helpless. He thus stares at the brilliant stars brightly in the sky. It seems that he is looking for some sort of comfort and hope in these stars. His brilliant eyes show that he still hopes for the day when he would be able to run free in the forest and living in natural surrounding. So we can see, children, that in the whole poem, the poet has described the mental state of a caged tiger, and he has presented a comparison between a tiger who is free in jungle and a tiger who is imprisoned in the cage. So let's talk about the title of the poem, children. The poem also presents a picture of the absolutely contrasting life of a tiger in his natural habitat of a forest. Since the poet wants to portray the mental state and the helplessness of a tiger in a zoo and emphasizes that zoo is not its natural home. So the title of the poem is suitable and correct. The title directly presents the first setting of the poem, which I told you, that is the behavior of a tiger in a zoo, but contains in itself other picture also, that is the tiger in a forest. So we can say that when we talk about the title of the poem, it shows a clear contrast between the life and mental state of a tiger who is there in the cage and the tiger who is enjoying his free life and freedom in the forest. Children, if we talk about the style of the poem consists of 5 stanzas. Each is made up of 4 lines. The rhyme scheme is ABCB, 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 and ABCB. The poem has two distinct settings. The first setting is that of the zoo, where the tiger is put in a cage. The second setting is that of the natural wild habitat of the tiger, which should have been his real place. The personification of the tiger is evident as the poet calls him he and not it. Talk about poetic devices. So there are many poetic devices or figures of speech which have been used in the poem. Number one, we have metaphor. See, metaphor is a figure of speech in which we make a direct comparison between two things, and we don't use the words of comparison as like or so. So in the poem, we can see the examples of metaphor like pets of velvet quiet, like pets have been compared with velvet, steps of his cage. Then we talk about imagery. When we talk about imagery, first of all, you must understand what is imagery. Actually, imagery is a language used by the poets, novelists, and other writers to create images in the mind of the reader. Imagery includes figurative and metaphorical language to improve the reader's experience through their senses. So, if we talk about the examples of imagery in the poem, there are certain examples like lurking in shadow, quiet rage, jungle's age, white fangs. So, all these are the examples of imagery which help us to imagine the condition of a tiger who is caged, who is encaged, and the tiger who is in jungle. Children, next poetic device which we find in the poem is personification. See, personification is a figure of speech in which lifeless objects and abstract ideas are personified. Rather, we can say when we take lifeless objects and abstract ideas as human beings or person, it is called personification. So, here in the poem, the tiger is personified because the poet refers him as he. See, he is a pronoun which is being used for the human beings. Okay, so the tiger has been called he by the poet in this poem. It means the tiger has been personified. Next, we have enjambment. Before talking about enjambment, we should understand what is it. See, children, enjambment is a figure of enjambment is the continuation of sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line, couplet, or stanza. So we have the example of enjambment in this poem also. In last stanza, we can see and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So this particular line, and stares with his brilliant eyes, is continue to the next line without any punctuation mark at the brilliant stars. So this is the example of this particular poetic device. As far as rhyme scheme is concerned, we have already talked about this is ABCB. Other poetic devices we can find in the poem are repetition. As you know very well, that repetition is a figure of speech in which particular words or phrases are repeated in the same line. Just like velvet, quite, quite, rage. So here quite has been repeated. So this is the example of repetition. Brilliant eyes, brilliant stars. Brilliant has been repeated. So this is also an example of repetition. Then we have alliteration also. Alliteration is the figure of speech in which a particular consonant sound is being repeated in a line. Like, he stalks in his vivid stripes. So here S has been repeated. Another example is, but he is locked in a concrete cell. Here C has been repeated. So this is all about different poetic devices which have been used in this poem, children. So at last, we should talk about the message of the poem. The message conveyed by the poem is that just like humans, animals too long for freedom and don't like being caged. For instance, the tiger in the poem longs to be in the jungle and he looks longingly at the shining stars in the sky. By looking at the stars, the tiger hopes to be with nature someday. That's all about this poem. Thank you.